Hi, I'm Tom Marino. At CaucusNJ, we believe that all citizens need to be informed about the issues that affect their daily lives. That's why we're proud to support the programming produced by Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
A global perspective on health, next on Caucus, New Jersey.
Funding for this edition of Caucus, New Jersey has been provided by PNC Bank, University Hospital, Newark, New Jersey, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, CaucusNJ, Accounting, Tax, and Advisory, where forward thinking creates results, Fedway Associates, the Ohlendorf Center, and by the Russell Berry Foundation. Promotional support provided by NJ Biz, All Business, All New Jersey, and by Commerce Magazine.
Welcome to Caucus, New Jersey. I'm Steve Adubato. You know, international medical missions, they provide much needed care. The underserved people around the world need that help. These missions are also great ways for students to get hands-on experience about real-life international healthcare issues. Now, here in the studio to discuss the importance of these so-called medical missions, we have Rosemarie Gelber, is a trustee and trip administrator for an organization called Healing the Children, New Jersey. Joseph Charlman is a chair of the Surgical Technology and Surgical Processing Programs at Berkeley College. Dr. Marc Goldberg is a board-certified anesthesiologist at the Kennedy Healthcare System and Mainline Surgical Center. And finally, Anna Campos is an alumna of Berkeley College and now a certified surgical technologist. By the way, Anna, what is that? Describe that role.
My role is to assist the surgeon with the handling of the instruments for the surgery. And
so let's be clear on these trips. Mm-hmm. Were you a student, by the way, of
yes,
someone here? Who were you a student of?
Berkeley College. I was studying.
She studied under you?
Yes.
Yes, he was my
How'd you get her to go to Ecuador?
We have a lot of. Originally, I wanted to be part of a medical mission when I first started in the field. At that time, I was a surgical technologist, and I worked with Dr. Frank Light and Joanne Wilkinson, who would always talk about these medical missions. And later on in life, when I became an educator, I had the opportunity to go on a medical mission, and I shared it with my students by blogging, FaceTiming, and then we began to process some of those instruments and sterilize the instruments at our college so that they could be taken on medical missions. And a lot of all students in my program, first surgical technology, surgical processing, then we had nursing students and medical assistant students who wanted to participate.
Did it start to grow?
Yes, it grew. And then we started going, I brought faculty, I opened it up to students to participate, and then Berkeley College formed a partnership with Healing the Children to do these medical missions, and we, it's been fantastic. It's very motivating.
Let's talk about this. Your organization, Healing the Children, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. What is it? How did it start? And then how'd you hook up with these guys?
Me?
Yeah.
What is it? It's an organization that takes children from countries where they don't have surgery available. We go down and send teams down. We do eyes, ENT, urology, plastic surgery, and dental. And take a team, go for a week, maybe 2 weeks, and then come back again. We also help some New Jersey citizens, children, and we also take children from other countries who need surgery here, and we'll bring them here and have a host family take care of them and then return them to their family.
What do you mean a host family? Explain that. Because you're a
I'm
host
a host
family.
mom. You pick a child up at the airport, you show your passport, they show their passport, you get the child. The child's yours. The parents don't come with the child because it's often an extended length of stay, so you have parental responsibility for this child.
Put this in perspective.
Could I step back one
second, Doctor. Jump in a second. You have how many children of your own?
4.
You've taken in how many children through this process?
7.
How does that work?
It's a pretty amazing thing.
What was it like? You made the decision to take in 7 children who needed help.
Well, over many years, I've taken them in.
Okay, from other countries.
Yes.
Who you met along this way.
Yes.
Who needed help. You brought them into your family. Describe it.
It's an incredible thing. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of fun. It totally transforms your kids.
How so?
We live in Summit, New Jersey. We have enough. We're very happy. The kids are healthy. And you have a child in who comes, doesn't speak the language, needs to learn the language. My kids have shared their bedrooms. They have to share bedtime stories. I mean, everything from A to Z. It's a huge adjustment. But it usually takes a few weeks when it's pretty traumatic for everybody. Then things calm down. And usually this stay is a few months, sometimes a year. And it changes your children.
What does it do for the children who you've taken in?
I think they get a profound sense of family and love. Hopefully that's what they've had at home, not always.
But not the care.
No, the care is different, but all the care is donated from the hospital, all the physicians, everybody.
Yeah.
So I think they get this outpouring of support.
Yeah.
And I have a great story. One of the kids that was with me had her leg taken off. And
had her leg taken off?
She had her leg amputated after multiple tries of saving it. And she was 8. It's not a sad thing because she was 8 years old. And the story I always tell is I took her to the pool a couple months after as she was healing. And I was walking with her, and this other little girl was walking with her dad. And the little girl said to her dad, "What happened to her leg?" And the little girl, my little girl, said, "They sawed it off." And it's sort of, that was her attitude, like, get over it. I'm fine. If you have something wrong, I don't. I'm like thriving, and I'm happy, and life's good. And I think that's the part that's pretty amazing.
Doctor, let me ask you this as you listen to the description of these extraordinary children who are getting help now. Describe some of the clinical needs that many of these children have in the countries who, that the folks at Berkeley and the other folks you're working with are getting.
A lot of kids in third world countries will have problems that we would fix in a minute in the United States, but the families just can't afford it. Such as cleft lip and cleft palate, burn injuries, orthopedic problems, things as simple as crossed eyes, which is an outpatient half-an-hour procedure in the United States. And it's a devastating social problem because in a lot of these countries, it's considered the malocchio. The kid has a curse because the eye goes in or goes out.
The word that I grew up with.
Yeah.
It is a curse.
It's a curse.
Like this child that's believed on some spiritual level now can't recover from this.
Exactly. And if it's uncorrected, at least in the olden days, maybe not so much today, these kids would never get married. They'd never have a family of their own. They'd never be able to have kids.
Ostracized?
They're social outcasts because an eye goes out instead of staring straight. And it's a 30-minute procedure. And the families literally cannot afford it.
How'd you get into this?
I was recruited by one of the Healing the Children people.
What does that mean, recruited?
Well, I worked with a nurse anesthetist.
It makes it sound like Uncle Sam and the federal government came after you. Like,
No.
what do you mean you're recruited? How does that happen?
I worked with a nurse anesthetist for years who was involved in the group before I was, and she said, "Would you like to go on a trip?" I said, "What's involved?" Well, you take a week off, and trips usually have one surgical subspecialty like ophthalmology or orthopedics or plastics. And you go and you meet these families, you take care of their kids. And when we do a trip abroad, it's generally what we would do as outpatient surgery. So it's a fairly fast procedure. The kids that Rosemarie hosts are kids who need multiple stages of surgery or surgery that's so complicated it can't possibly be done in these countries.
So they can't do it?
They can't do it.
Will they ever be able to do it? Will you ever be able to train, coach them, get them the equipment, the technology, the infrastructure so that they could possibly do it for themselves?
Well, on a trip to Peru, we found a 17-year-old boy with an arteriovenous malformation in his brain. This is a very complicated problem that is routinely treated in the United States, but it requires hugely expensive infrastructure.
Yes.
Impossible to do in Peru. We brought the kid here. He got about $500,000 worth of donated care from Jefferson University.
Donated?
Donated. Donated neurosurgeon, donated anesthesia care. And he had had a small stroke. He had arteriovenous malformations on both sides of his brain, so he's at risk for a bigger stroke. And now the kid will never have a stroke. He's treated.
He's doing okay?
He's doing great.
Joe, let me ask you something. When you listen to all this, describe what it's like for you and your colleagues at Berkeley, not only the faculty, but the students, the experience of going to this foreign country on a medical mission. What does it do for your students? Because it's part of the academic program, this hands-on effort to teach, but to teach in a very unique and profound way. Talk about it.
Well, for the students, a lot of my, I'm not going to say a lot of students, but some students come in, one of the things that as a faculty, first from a faculty point of view, you get to observe students as they grow into the field of healthcare and developing compassion, and that's an important part of healthcare.
Devil's advocate, you couldn't do that in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut?
We do it in New Jersey, New York.
How is it different on one of these trips?
It's different because they get to observe healthcare at its bare roots, I'd like to say, because in these countries, they do not have as much as the technology that we have, the resources that we have, and being able to participate and while you're learning and being able to use those skills to help another individual is so impactful on a student and so motivational for a student. This, I've had Anna came with me. There were so many students that wanted to come with me.
In Ecuador?
Yes. We were in Ecuador at Guayaquil together on the pediatric urology trip.
Pediatric urology trip.
Mm-hmm.
Why was it focused on pediatric urology?
Yes.
Children.
Why was it, that was the need, or you picked that trip for a reason, or what?
The host surgeon, we usually have a host surgeon at the country that we're going to,
right.
And these are patients that he has evaluated and are in need of these services of with healing the children. I'm also a trip administrator with Healing the Children.
Right.
The host country usually will say we have a need of these specialty services, and they will evaluate. Usually they set up a triage of patients for us to evaluate.
So how long are you in Ecuador?
1 week.
Okay, so I want you to describe in detail for our audience, what it did for you, what you saw, what you took away.
It's undescribable.
Try it.
First of all, the need is so great. From little things like they charge parents for the little hoodie and the cover gown to go see their children in the hospital, to go see their children after the surgery. People live far, far away from, where the hospital is located. So they spend the night outside with cardboards, whatever, just to be near their kids. Sleep outside.
So not in the hospital?
They won't let them inside the hospital. They won't let them, they spend the night in the parking lot, on cardboards, on whatever. The hospital, gracious enough, at 6 o'clock gives them a cup of coffee and a piece of bread, just in case they don't have money for dinner.
What were you feeling when you saw that?
It was like I could do more. I could do more. I used my money to pay for the trip.
Didn't your coworkers help you?
Some of my coworkers gave me money, whatever little they could do. I didn't ask for anything. They just like, here, just do whatever you can with this. Here, it's $20. We haven't gotten paid because I don't make a lot of money. I live paycheck to paycheck. But I wanted to do something because to me, God gave me a lot. And being able at my age to go to school full-time, work full-time, is a blessing. So I wanted to return that blessing. And then on top of that, it was an awesome experience because what Berkeley taught me, it was like, yeah, it's in books. Yeah, the muscle look like this. Sure, that's what it looks like. But when you go and actually see it and actually see the result of the surgery, that a kid would really actually be able to live somewhat of a normal life.
Did you see the surgery?
Yes, I actually participated.
You participated in it?
Yes.
What was that like?
It was like book and actual thing came together. It was like
What did it do for you?
Oh, that's what it was.
What did it do for you?
That's how it works. It made me whole. It made me whole. It worked what Berkeley taught me and what I experienced with the field and helping the kids. It came one-on-one. It was like, oh.
Doctor, what's it like for you to hear that?
Well, it's great. That's the typical volunteer experience. When we put together a team, it's oftentimes people who've never worked together, and they're spending their own money on airfare. We try to provide lodging and food, but they take a week of vacation time, they spend their own money, and I don't think we've ever had a volunteer in 30 years of doing this who was unhappy. It's an amazing experience.
But the idea that an academic institution would partner with a nonprofit and then have clinical
professionals. Well, they have students who need this experience. And, you know, we tend, in America, you focus on the surgeon, the high end. We can't do the procedures without people like Anna.
But isn't it clear after listening to Anna that clinical care moving forward, if we're really talking about best practices, this is a best practice. This has got to be the standard by which people are trained to be the best. As opposed, you talked about the book, and then being there, doing what you were doing, it all, quote, came together for you. Yes. The vast majority of people are not getting that experience. Isn't that fair to say? They're not getting that kind of hands-on experience.
No, as far as a student experience, no.
Yes.
No,
no,
not at all. Not on an international level. I mean, my students do get clinical rotations here within the United States in hospital setting, in the operating room. But going on, just like Dr. Goldberg said, that trip, you're meeting total teams, strangers, but all are equal. And that camaraderie of focusing on patient care is so unique. And I'm not saying that here in the States we don't focus on patient care, we do, but it's so focused on giving your all. I mean, we did our trip to Guayaquil, Ecuador. We operated from like 7 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night. And everybody was, the trip surgeon, I should mention, Dr. Richard Schlessel, was a great leader and a great motivator, and everybody was, he would have us at 11:30 at night, he would have us cracking up, and we were like so exhausted, but we would keep pushing forward to make sure that we gave each patient the best care we possibly could. For me, it was the best experience for me, because as a trip administrator, that team didn't leave anything in the gas tank.
Life-changing? Life-changing,
definitely. Nurses, I've worked with other nurses who've gone on the trip. They'll have elementary school make get well cards in Spanish and send them with us. I mean, it just grows. It grows. People try to be part of it as much as they can, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful organization, and I'm so grateful for the people that got me involved in it. I'm very grateful.
This?
Pardon?
Is this why you started it, to hear stuff like this?
I didn't start it.
Well, the whole idea of the organization.
Why it was started?
Yeah.
I think the woman that started it started on a very small scale, but I guess one other thing I'd add is when you go on these trips, and in the United States, healthcare is very compartmentalized. You see this sliver and you see this sliver. And I think for everybody concerned here, you see the whole picture. You see the family that brings them in with all their sisters, somebody with crossed eyes. They all come in, they watch this child go through the triage, the clinic, get selected for surgery, have the surgery. The surgeon sometimes is literally carrying the patient in and out. I mean, everybody gets a chance to see the entire picture, and we don't get that here, and I think that's really profound for all these students and for everybody. It's a very different feeling. I feel it's incredibly inspiring. It's enlightening to go on a trip and watch this child walk in with this eye and watch them walk out, you know, a few hours later with maybe a little bloodshot area in these eyes, and two incredibly happy parents. It's like a miracle.
Doctor, all the people watching right now who say, I'm inspired by this. It's a wonderful story, a not-for-profit coming together with a terrific organization, an academic organization with physicians who care, with nurses who care, and people who come together. That's great. But I always ask this question, but, quote, what does it have to do with me? What does it have to do with the audience in the tri-state region?
You know, when you live in America, It's as if you were born on third base and you think you hit a triple.
How many times have I had that conversation with my kids? Never mind, that's another story.
And that's what Rosemarie's kids find out. Well, on my first trip, the kids were so poor, they were dressed in rice sacks. My archetypal story is about a 15-year-old boy with a very grotesque cleft lip and palate that had never been repaired. When he was 5 years old, he was put to work in a factory. Because he was so grotesque looking, nobody wanted to deal with him.
So there are not just medical and clinical issues, there are social
issues,
emotional issues, the ability to get jobs, the ability to have relationships.
We said to this kid, what are your ambitions in life? He said, I want to have my face fixed and I want to learn to read. Well, at this point, we're all crying. We operate on the kid. He looked better than you. When we brought his sister into the recovery room to look at him, she burst into tears. Now, what does it have to do with Americans? You know, we're very lucky to live in America. And we can't cure the ills of the world. We can't fix every kid in the world. But for the ones we fix, they hit the Powerball. This kid hit the Powerball. He'll get married now. He'll have a life. He would not have had that before. And, you know, Rosemarie dedicates her home, Anna dedicates her time. We hope people will donate money. It costs about $15,000 to put on one of these trips.
Hold on, $15,000 for a trip?
For a trip.
And how many trips on average a year?
We try to do 5 a year.
Try to do 5 a year.
And on a typical trip, the urology trip, we did very big surgery, very difficult surgery. We helped about 30 kids. On an eye trip, we can do up to 200 kids.
Now, just to be clear, so folks understand this, the physicians are not paid.
Physicians donate their time too.
Nobody.
Nobody's paid. Oh, no.
Nobody.
So the transportation is?
Everybody pays their own transportation.
Mm-hmm. You pay your own transportation.
I use my own vacation also.
You use your vacation time.
Yes.
So you lose money. So everyone gets this. You lose money for not being paid at work. Mm-hmm. You don't get paid to be there.
And it's not a tax deduction.
And you got to pay, you have to pay to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the lodging?
Depends. The group will pay for the lodging for the nurses and the technicians. We usually make the physicians pay for their own lodging.
Okay, last question. For the countries we're talking about, most of them, what will it take for them to ever be self-sufficient in terms of what they need to do clinically, medically, so that these trips won't be necessary, or is that a ridiculous question?
I mean, on the pediatric urology trip, the surgeons and anesthesiologists, you had students there and physicians observing the surgery, trying to learn the techniques that we have.
Say they learn the techniques, but the equipment.
It's going to take a lot.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars.
We, Healing the Children, we bring in our own equipment too. We're bringing in.
But you don't leave it there.
No, we bring what our surgical instrumentation, medications, all that we're bringing in.
So what's the goal? The goal is not to bring it and leave it. The goal is to bring it, bring the experts, take care of what has to be done for these children, and then you leave and you go somewhere else. Is it fair to say that these countries do not, and for the foreseeable future will not, have the infrastructure and the ability to get this done for themselves?
I would say in the foreseeable future, no.
I think there's also a problem because the kids we're dealing with are the poorest of the poor. And they just really, I don't want to sound like a rich American or condemn other social systems, but even if you're desperately poor in America, if you can get to a hospital, you'll get treatment.
Yeah.
And the hospital will write it off.
Right.
In these countries, the poorest of the poor just will not get treated.
Final question. Reason to be hopeful, given everything that's been said. Reason to be hopeful is?
Everybody's trying to do their best.
Reason to be hopeful.
Organizations like Healing the Children that are going to go out there and do as much as they can. And volunteers, the volunteers that there's always volunteers. Well, the organization needs support, and the future with that's part of the reason I want my students to be involved as they become professionals.
You're going to do it again, aren't you?
Oh, I've done 4 trips.
And you do it again.
Yeah.
Reason to be hopeful.
There's always a kid you can cure, and it's like saving the world if you save one kid.
Reason you're hopeful.
We need to be aware of humanity. We need to be more human, and we hope to help people, and by helping, we need to start like a ripple effect.
You think you might do it again?
Oh, hands down.
Hands down.
Even if I have my last $1,000 for the trip, I will use those last $1,000.
You are four wonderful people, and if we had other people like you, more people like you, we'd have a better shot. But I want to thank you so much. We salute you at Public Television.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence, and 13 for WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by PNC Bank, University Hospital, Newark, New Jersey, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Cone Resnick, Fedway Associates, the Ohlendorf Center, and by the Russell Berry Foundation. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
I work for Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I'm a catastrophic case manager. I'm a nurse. I feel a sense of responsibility to each and every member that I speak with on the phone. I know where they live, I know their towns, I know the hospitals they go to. A lot of times I know their physicians, and I love helping people at very difficult times of their lives. The job I have now is the perfect job for me. I think I was born a nurse.